So today for me, it's a sad but rejoiceful day. Well, technically that was yesterday because I already built the PC as I'm currently recording this. I kind of just woke up like 40 minutes ago and started recording so I can make this video. But yesterday, I finally replaced the PC that I owned since about 2019, and that was the first PC that I ever built. And when I first built that PC, you know, I was proud of myself. I was like, damn, I didn't really know I could do something like this. You know, computers and things of that nature, it all seems so complicated. You know, a few years later down the line, I find it pretty easy to build a PC. It's not really that difficult, which is why I don't understand why anybody would buy a pre-built. It's more expensive and, you know, you get worse parts for more money. But anyways, I got that PC in 2019 because I wanted to play Fortnite professionally. And you know, I had a decent run in wagers, not really in tournaments because my controller would break all the time. I talked about that in a previous video when I talked about how Fortnite kind of sucks. Now, regardless, that PC was special to me, not just because of the Fortnite stuff, but because if I never got that PC and I never really got into making content and things of that nature, then I wouldn't be here right now. Wait, I just realized that kind of makes it seem like I'd be dead. No, I wouldn't be dead. I wouldn't be on YouTube right now. But that PC holds a special place in my heart because it basically opened up the door for everything else that happens in my life. And when I first built that PC, it looked terrible. Like wiring-wise, like it worked. It was fine. But wiring-wise, it was terrible looking. I've obviously upgraded it and improved how it looks throughout the years. And the current CPU and GPU that's on it right now, I've only used for about a year and a half. But unfortunately, I want to start streaming now, and not just streaming, you know, yap sessions and talking to you guys, but, you know, me playing games, whether it be Marvel Rivals or any upcoming story games and things of that nature. And I could never really stream games at high quality before because my PC just wasn't good for that. Like maybe like, you know, a few years ago it would be fine for that. Like, you know, when the i9 9900K was like one of the best processors available. But now, it's kind of outdated for things of that nature. It's still really good for gaming. And the 3070 is also still a really good GPU. Like I know people that be out here playing games on like 1060s still. So, but regardless, my PC was not good enough for what I currently want to do with it. I could not stream Marvel Rivals. Anytime I played Rivals and I got into any kind of team fight, it would be like, I dropped from like, you know, my usual like 130 to 140 to all the way down to like 90, 80, sometimes even 70. And you know, console players probably look at those kind of frames and be like, oh my god, what? That's crazy, 90 frames. But when you're used to something, and this is gonna happen for everybody, it doesn't even matter if you play on like, if you're used to playing on 240 FPS and your FPS drops to like 140 or 160 or like 120, it's gonna feel weird and it's gonna feel off playing it. It's just a matter of getting used to a certain frame rate, a certain quality, like 1080p versus 1440p or 4K, and then you drop quality and then it's like really noticeable and it can even like really hurt your eyes. So yeah, I had to upgrade, and I'm really excited for this build because there's some things in it that I've never done before in my like previous PC build. So what is the build? What are we working with? Well, first things first, the processor. I got an i7 14700K F. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, why didn't you go with an AMD CPU? That's because the AMD CPUs that are good for like multitasking and like productive things, yeah, those ones are like $600. So no, I think it's called the 9800X3D. That one's like one of the best gaming chips on the market, but it's not very good for like streaming and multitasking. It's definitely not. It's way worse than the i7 processor that I got for, you know, that kind of thing. So that's why I didn't go with an AMD CPU. For the graphics card, I have a 5070 Ti. I was originally just gonna get a 5070, but I thought I'm gonna have this system I'm probably not gonna upgrade for another, you know, 4 or 5 years. So I might as well spend a little bit of extra money just for a little bit more longevity for it. And honestly, I think we've reached the point with graphics cards and technology in games in general where it's kind of hard to keep improving graphical stuff, but it's not hard for developers to stop unoptimizing their games, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But regardless, I have 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM at 6000 megahertz at CL30 timings. I got an Asus Prime motherboard. I don't even really remember what the model name was. It has all the stuff that I need, so, you know. And I've also got a Lian 850 watt 80 plus gold certified power supply. So that's the specs we're working with. I'll show you guys the case and stuff when I actually get to building it. And I also got an AIO this time around, which I've never installed before. So without further ado, let's get to it. So first things first, we got to install the CPU. And this is a pretty easy process. You know, you just unhook the stuff from the stuff, and then you gently place it down. Don't push it down or you might bend the pins. A lot of people want you to handle the CPU like it's a baby. You don't have to handle it like you have a vagina, but, you know, just don't be too rough with it and you'll be fine. The next thing we have to do is install our RAM sticks, and this motherboard was actually really weird because normally you have 2 latches to, you know, apply even pressure to bring the RAM sticks down, but this one it only had 1 latch, so it was kind of weird, like, installing it. But, you know, we got it done regardless. Pretty easy, pretty simple. And then the next new component that I'm actually installing in this PC that I've never actually used before is an M.2. You know, I never used it before, but it's pretty easy to install. You just plug it in a hole and screw it in. That's PC building for you. It literally is just Legos for grown-ups. But then we get to the most dreaded part. The hardest part of any PC build. Installing the I/O shield. This thing has always been I remember from my first PC build, it was the hardest thing to install. I don't know why. Every motherboard doesn't just come with a pre-installed AIO shield, but why not make people suffer? I mean, I got so fed, I just started banging this thing in there. I just started using my screwdriver as a hammer. Then it was time to line the motherboard up to the case, which now it's time to talk about the case. I wound up going with the NZXT H9 Flow, which is another NZXT case, and this was surprisingly a lot bigger than my other case and a lot heavier too. I swear to God, when I put this whole PC together, I think it weighs like 35 pounds, I'm not even joking. My last PC is like 20 pounds, and I'll show y'all a size comparison for reference. I got a real beefy boy sitting on my desk right now. This was also the moment when I realized that my screwdriver was magnetic. I've had this screwdriver for I think like 2 years. Didn't even know it was magnetic, and then yeah, I found out.
I'm a dumbass. Oh, no, I really am a dumbass. Fuck.
And I also had this happen.
Ah, fuck.
Oh, and as I was doing that, I was about to go install my AIO, but first, I opened up the box and I realized that I had a contact frame. And if you don't know what a contact frame is, it basically just applies even pressure to all around the CPU. It's better than the stock motherboard socket for the CPU, and it helps you get slightly, like, 2 degrees lower temps, so yeah. I didn't pay for it, it just came with my AIO, so that was cool. But unfortunately, I didn't really record myself installing the power supply, or really the AIO, because they were just kind of tedious to install on camera. I couldn't really get a good angle for it anyway. It looked like shit. Most of this recording probably looks like a found footage horror movie, because I'm recording on an iPhone. But yeah, here's what the power supply looks like, and it comes in this nice little silk satin bag, which is just like, yo, this is nice packaging. The bag this comes in is the same quality as my bed sheets. And the cables it comes with as well, really nice looking. Definitely better than your average power supply. And even the case, you know, talk about quality. It already came pre-cable managed. Now, I fucked that up a little bit because it was a little bit harder to install the wires. But, you know, you'll see. I think the cable work, it looks fine by the end. It doesn't look perfect, and you'll see why, but regardless. But after installing the power supply, it was finally time to start plugging in the wires to their designated connectors, which you'll be able to read on the motherboard. It's, again, pretty easy. All you have to do is read and plug stuff into holes that match. It's that. Just plug shit into holes that match. And like I said, I installed the AIO off camera because it was a pain in the ass to record that. But then it was time to install the holy grail, the graphics card, the thing that made this build cost $1,800. Now, I was gonna go with an MSI Gaming Trio 5070 Ti because, funny enough, my first graphics card that I ever had was a 2060 Gaming Z Trio, and my second, or no, it wasn't a Trio, it was actually a dual card, but it was still called like Gaming Z or whatever. But the next graphics card I got was a 3070, and that was also a Gaming Z. And so I was gonna keep up with tradition and get another Gaming Z from MSI because it looks really cool, but it was also like $200 more. I got the 7050 Ti for MSRP, which is like, even 2 months ago, that was like unheard of. So, cool. 750, it was like 790 with tax, but regardless, I didn't really care much about RGB because, as you'll see later, I have a PS5 that covers most of what my PC looks like. The RGB is mostly just like an ambient light. I can barely even see what my PC looks like when I'm sitting at my desk. So I didn't really care too much about aesthetics. I did pick a couple things that look nice because I can see some things in my PC, and you know, I wanted to look at least a little bit nice, but I didn't go crazy on any RGB stuff. And even saying that, my AIO actually it wound up being pretty bright. I'm getting off topic, but the graphics card is the easiest thing to install in the entire build.
Well, Well, shit.
Okay, we may have ran into some wiring blockage issues, but we figured that out.
There we go.
And then it was time to plug in the PCIe connector into the, graphics card. Then it was time to see if the thing would actually turn on. And...
Alright, this is the moment of truth. Will it turn on? No, it will not.
It didn't work. And I thought I, wired something wrong. And I actually did wire something wrong. I messed up the CPU and some other power cable. I didn't plug in the right cable. It was a 6-pin. I only plugged in 4 of the 6 pins. That's how I didn't see the other cable in my power supply block, so I thought it would just be fine, but it wasn't. But anyways, I fixed that, and then it still didn't turn on. And I found out the actual problem, or the bigger problem, was that it wasn't plugged into the right socket of my wall cable extension thing. It might have been because that my other PC was taking up too much power and it wouldn't allow the other one to turn on. I don't know. But yeah, here's what this beauty looks like after I built it. There's a little bit of wiring stuff that I don't like, but it's not really something I can fix because it's connected to the AIO and you can't really wire it any way that's differently. Overall, I think my setup looks pretty, a little bit more clean now. I think my PC looks better. It's definitely going to perform better. I still have this, this is what, I showed y'all what the setup looks like without my fat-ass PS5 blocking the way, but, there it is. And for anyone that's going to ask, why don't you have your covers on your PS5? It's because it overheats if it has the covers on it. That's also why I have a fat-ass cooling dock station under it, because my PS5 likes to overheat and turn off after 30 minutes of using it. I've had that PS5 since 2020. It was one of the first. I stayed up till midnight. It was one of them when you couldn't get a PS5. But yeah, I'm really excited to start streaming. Let me know what kind of games you guys want me to play. I'm definitely, I made a video about a whole bunch of games that are coming out that I'm really interested in playing. I'm definitely going to be streaming a lot of Rivals. Now I will be able to play that game on stream without my aim tweaking every 2 seconds because of frame drops. So the GPU was $798, the case was $106, the RAM, motherboard, and power supply were all $393 together. I went to Micro Center to get that because Amazon wanted to take a week to bring in the other parts, so I was just like, nope. And I took a 40-minute drive to Micro Center, which was honestly worth it. That place is pretty cool. And I wasn't waiting another week to get this. But then finally, the CPU and the AIO were $442 together. So in total, everything costed about $1,739. It was actually originally going to cost $1,800 with all the stuff that I would have bought off Amazon. But I got stuff cheaper actually at Micro Center. So it was a win-win. And plus, I'm going to be selling my old PC for $700. So, and honestly, it cost me about around $1,000 just to upgrade. But if you were to build this PC without having anything to sell and anything to compensate for it, it would be around $1,700, $1,800. But yeah, I thank you all for watching a lot. I thank you all for allowing me to build this PC. And yeah, stay tuned for the streams that I will be doing a lot more frequently. And goodbye.